Okay, so in this session I'm going to solve this RC, and I'm going to talk about the three-pointer method to solve the RC. Now what we are going to do is that we are going to read the first line of the RC 3 times and the first line of each paragraph 2 times, and we are going to stress on the triggering words because that are actually the direction changers for the RC. And then also, before moving into the RC much, we are going to think from our pre-knowledge of what we know about the subject. Alright, so let's look at this case. This is an RC, and I'm going to show you how to read this RC in the very perfect way. Now, in the early 1915s, historians who studied pre-industrial Europe, which may be defined as Europe in the period of 1300 to 1800, began for the first time in large number to investigate more of the pre-industrial European population than the 2 or 3% who comprises the political and the social elites. Who are they? Kings, generals, judges, nobles, bishop, and local magnates who had hitherto usually filled history books. So in 1950, historians who study pre-industrial Europe began for the first time in large number to investigate more about the pre-industrial population than the 2 or 3% who comprises the political and the social elite, the king, generals, nobles, bishop, local managers, and who had hitherto usually filled in the history books. So I've read this a couple of times. Now I'm going to just wait for around 5 seconds in the exam, and I'm going to think what I know about this area. So in those areas, the pre-industrial Europe, there was like monarchy, and there were just two sections of the society: the elites, the 2-3%, and the poor people. And I also know that the industrialization brought this whole concept of middle class and the distribution of wealth. So all these things I know from my knowledge. And I also know that most of the things which we know about these things are basically the kings and the wars. I don't know about how common people was going on. So this is what I know about from my pre-knowledge. Alright, let's continue reading. Now when I'm going to continue the reading, I'm going to stress on the triggering words, because the triggering words are actually the indicators of the direction in which this passage is going. So let's move ahead. One difficulty, however, was that few of the remaining 97% recorded their thoughts or had them synchronized by contemporaries. Faced with this situation, many historians based their investigation on only records that seem to exist, like birth, marriage, and death records. As a result, much of the earlier work on the non-elites was aridly statistical in nature. Reducing the vast majority of the population to a set of number was hardly more enlightening than ignoring them altogether. Historians still did not know what these people thought or felt. So this was the paragraph at this point. Let's move ahead. One way out of this dilemma was to turn to the records of legal courts, for here the voices of the non-elites can most often be heard as witness, plaintiffs, and defendants. Now if you were to analyze what they were thinking, then of course we have to look at the court records. So one way out of this dilemma, I'm reading it twice because here the paragraph has changed. One way of this dilemma was to turn to the records of legal courts, for there the voices of non-elites can most often be heard as witness, plaintiffs, and defendants. These documents have acted as, inverted commas, a point of entry into the mental world of the poor. So this inverted comma is actually landscaping my eyes, that a point of entry into the mental world of the poor. So the author is trying to just keep this in inverted commas, so he wants me to focus on this thing. Historians such as Lodi have used this document to extract case histories which have illuminated the attitude of different social groups. These attitudes include but not confined to attitude towards crime and law, and have revealed how authorities administered justice. It has been societies that has developed police system and practiced Roman law with its written disposition, whose court records have yielded the most data to the historians. In Anglo-Saxon countries, hardly any of these benefits obtained, but it has still been possible to glean information from the study of legal documents. Okay, let's move ahead. The extraction of case history is not, however, the only use to which court records may be put. The extraction of case histories is not, however, the only use to which court records may be put. The extraction of case histories is not, however, the only use to which court records may be put. Historians have studied pre-industrial Europe, have used this record to establish a series of crime and to quantify the indictment that were issued over a given number of years. This use of records does yield some information about the non-elite, but this information gives us little insight into the mental lives of the non-elite. We also know that the number of indictment in pre-industrial Europe bears little relation to the number of actual crimes, and we strongly suspect that the relationship has varied over time. In addition, aggregate population estimates were shaky, which makes it difficult for historians to compare rate of crimes per thousand in one decade of the pre-industrial period with rate in another decade. Given these inadequacy, it is clear why the case histories use of court record is to be preferred. Okay, so this is how we have read the paragraphs. Now there are 3 points to reading the paragraph. Point 1, read the first line 3 times. Point 2, deploy your common sense or the pre-knowledge or those things which you have been which are in your mind from long time, which you are supposed to know as a diligent human being. And point 3, you have to stress on the triggering words. So by doing this, and point 4, of course you can add it, which is of course important, that you have to use the punctuation in the very right way. So if something comes in inverted commas, then you have to put it into inverted commas in your mind while reading it. Okay, so this is the 3-step of reading, and then we have the 3 steps for marking the options. Now the 3 steps for marking the options are power of elimination, understanding the diplomatic periphery, not too broad and not too specific. These are the 3 powerful tools that we use actually to solve the question. So I just showed you how to read this RC. Now let me try to take you to the questions here. So I'm going to take on the questions in an upcoming video, because